Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and whenever you are. Welcome to the community live stream. This is the show that takes you through the ServiceNow community and not only provides the answers, but it gives you the insights, the journey of discovery, the learning process that goes into those so that you can take those skills to your job and become an more effective ServiceNow administrator and developer. My name is Chuck Tomasi. I am the ServiceNow guy with the cool bow tie, coming to you on this Friday, TGIF. It is Friday the 14th. Is that making a good luck day? Because Friday the 13th would be bad luck day. Anyway, Friday the 13th, 2018. It is the month of December. There are Friday the 14th. I think it just said. Anyway, 9 days till Christmas. That's what I'm counting on. It's coming quickly. It is good to see you. If you are watching live, then let me get this out of the way and put that thing up. I encourage you to watch live on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications, and you will get notifications that look something like that. You'll also notice there is another notification. Whoop. Right there, if you were watching a little while ago, if you've got the notifications, that there's been a new Tech Now posted. I got Tuesday's show up on YouTube. I will get that linked into the community in just a little bit, but there is lots and lots of good content on that Now Community channel if you choose to subscribe and get notified. We also do this on Twitch over there if you want to watch there. There are some people who watch there, watching right now. Thank you very much. Give me a shout out. Give me a hello, how are you? Good morning. Let me get this ad out of the way. On Twitch. There we go. And then get back to the chat. Good morning, Carol R. Good morning, John. Good morning, Carol and Ramsport. We're checking in. Good to see you. It is Friday. I suspect many of my European and Middle East and India people have departed. Well, maybe not European. This show is done every day at 1 p.m. UTC, so set your alarms if you wish. Many people do that, and I appreciate it greatly. You can do that over at Twitch. If you've got something more than just a shout out, how are you, hello, what's the weather like, then I encourage you to go to the community and post your questions about ServiceNow. Remember, one question per post. We'll post it in the right community, add some background, some information that might help us understand what the problem is, the business case, the business use case, the problem you're trying to solve. Remember 5 whys? Understand why, what the root cause is. That often helps us understand and give you the best solution. Because if you just simply say, hey, can I do this? Someone will probably say, yeah, you probably can, but it might not be the right answer. It might not be maintainable. It could run into problems when you upgrade if you just take the answer off the community at face value. I like to understand what's behind that question so that we can dig in and give you the best possible answer. Good morning, Jonah. Good to see you. Good morning. Who's out there? Trithenera. Hope I said that close to right. That's a new name for me. Haven't said that. Apologies for no show yesterday. I was in Santa Clara for a quick meeting. Met some wonderful people. Good stuff. Wow, got some insights on what's coming in Madrid. So that will be coming out on our personal developer instances, which you can find over at, let me get the developer site up there, over at the developer site, developer.community.com. That should be coming in a couple of months. Late February is what I'm expecting for those personal developer instances to start showing up with Madrid. You can find that. Get a free one today. You don't have to wait till Madrid. You can get a free personal developer instance. Start testing that out at developer.servicenow.com, along with free learning plans, along with all the scripting APIs, along with lots and lots of other good information about meetups and other events. If you want to know more about meetups, you can certainly go over to meetup.com. Well, for some reason, my little hotkey didn't work there. Oh, I'm already on that tab. Let's try that one. Meetup.com, where we've got chapters all over the world. Over 13,000 members, 50 chapters. I expect that to be growing quite a bit in 2019 and looking forward to it. Hopefully I can get out to some of those new chapters. I like giving them a kickstart. When you got a new chapter to start, let me know. And I will try to get out there for the kickoff of that chapter. So, wonderful. Good to see everybody here this morning. Just giving you a little time to join in, get that alarm. Fire up the YouTube stream. Let us also not forget to mention that Knowledge is coming up. Knowledge 2019 is in Las Vegas this May 5th through 9th. Hope to see you there. Lots of great networking opportunities. Good morning, Rahul. Good to see you there. The Knowledge also has hands-on labs, hands-on workshops. New section being added this year for builders. So if you've got no coders in your enterprise, you've got people that you work with that are building Excel spreadsheets and Microsoft Access database for these point solutions that don't integrate with anything, bring them along, encourage them to go. There's going to be a full track of content for them, hands-on workshops, hands-on exhibits. We've got lots and lots of information for these people, whether they are architects, whether they are business analysts, whether they are outside of IT, business process owners. They are building things. They don't call themselves developers, but truly they are. We call them builders. Get them to knowledge as well, and that will help offload the work that IT is doing. So if you feel like you're snowed under by requests to build things on ServiceNow, get them there and teach them how to do this stuff and open their eyes to, wow, it really can be done and can be done easily. Cross-enterprise workflow, that's what we're all about. And if you're not involving them, you're missing an opportunity here. We'll get you. We'll get you. Carolyn, we're going to find a way to get you to go there. We're going to find a way. Let me know if you need any help or information or persuasion. All right, also wanted to remind you that today is the last day. If you're watching this on December 14th, this is the last day to submit your speaker sessions. I know I said last Friday it was extended a week. I don't expect that to be happening again. We are getting lots and lots of good speaker submissions filled in. So go to the CFP link that you see down there and submit your speaker session. Can't guarantee it'll get accepted, but hey, if you don't take a shot on the goal, you can't score, right? So put in your speaker submission, tell your story, let us know what it is you want to talk about, and maybe you get a free, Carolyn, that might be your in, is to get a free pass by being selected as a speaker to go to Knowledge. So that's a possibility as well. Get that in today, and we will be reviewing, actually we started the review process, we'll be reviewing those for the next few weeks and let you know in January whether you're selected or not, so you can plan accordingly. I believe we don't have a workshop up here. The next Tech Now is on July 29th. I think that's right. I'll have to double check. But we're going to be talking about mid-servers, and then Madrid comes after that, and then we've got more Madrid and more Madrid in March and April. And then we're just going to have a whole bunch of fun at Knowledge doing our Tech Now Live. I have been approved for my crazy idea, and I'll let you know more about that as it develops. There is hardware to build. There is software to build. This is going to be fun. All right, where are we? I'm on wrong keyboard. GF, there we go. Any code that I write today will be available on the GitHub repo that you see there. And that'll take you to the top level folder. I will put a link in the show notes on YouTube and the community. That will take you to the direct folder, if there's a direct folder. See how that works? If there's not a direct folder, well then, you get taken to the top level, and you can go look at code from Wednesday, or whenever I had code to write. It's all stored there. That's our vault, that's our repository, and away we go. Who else has joined? Ibrahim has joined. Good to see you, Ibrahim. What do you say we get started? That was one of my shorter pre-rolls in only 8 minutes. Sometimes this takes 15 or 16. Not as many stories today. Okay, I got a story for you. We'll start this out. I was at the airport yesterday, and I was leaving Phoenix, and they had one of those signboards up ahead that usually has some sort of advertisement or directions or weather map or whatever was supposed to be on there, but it had a window screen that had an application running. I think it was their signboard manager application, and then cascading down the whole rest of the screen was just error after lots of little pop-ups. It almost looked like a pop-up ad gone horribly wrong, but there was clearly no signboard material on there. And I took a picture of that, posted it to Facebook, and just said, airports. And one of my coworkers said, you know, if only they had some sort of system of record that people could report things like this, and then they could maintain and maybe reboot, that would be nice. You know, hinting that the Phoenix airport should have ServiceNow, which I completely agree. Wouldn't that be neat, though, if your whole airport experience changed because of the way that, you know, whether it was a signage thing, you take a picture and you send it to them, You could do that via email. You could do that via text message. Whatever it took to get that ingestion of that information. Somebody could go, oh my, we have a sign that needs rebooting. Because their people aren't out there inspecting those things on a regular basis. They have to wait for somebody to report it. And if I walked up to the counter at Southwest, they probably wouldn't know who to route it to. So the manual grapevine just isn't the way to go. You need some way for customers to report this. Put a little sticker or something at the bottom that says, something wrong? Send a message here. And then they would get it immediately. Or they have ServiceNow on the back end to periodically check whether these things are running properly and reboot them or reset them as needed. Anyway, I'm talking about the future. We had some great story from a coworker, by the way, about how she envisioned the Department of Motor Vehicles improving in the world of ServiceNow of the future, where it only took 10 minutes. You could fill out your forms online ahead of time on your mobile device, walk in, get your driver's license or new tags, badges, license plates, whatever service you needed, and get out, rather than going from one line, standing in an hour, waiting for your number to be called, go to another line. It was a horrible, horrible experience that took her over 3 hours of her day. And that's not atypical for a DMV experience. I know that when I lived in Wisconsin, it was dramatically different. Somehow they had optimized the process, and I got to Arizona and was disappointed. I went, wow, now I know where all the comedians get their material. So there is room for improvement, and you can look for improvement like that. I know it sounds like I'm turned into a commercial, but just wanted to share some ideas of where you can look for those types of optimizations in your organization. They're all over the place, and I've always got my radar on when I go to work, because I'm trying to make the world of ServiceNow better. You should be making your world better via ServiceNow as well. Okay. An advanced check-in, yes, at the Motor Vehicles, Department of Motor Vehicles Division, whatever you call it. They seriously, lots of government agencies need help in optimization, especially when it comes to cross-communication. I am encouraged to report that we do have many of the U.S. federal agencies getting more on board. It used to be that cloud was taboo. Now it's not anymore. It's they're really, the CIOs of these various agencies and departments are saying, we need to move forward, we need to optimize, we need to save money. So the fact that the government wants to improve processes and save money has me hopeful for the future. It's what people expect these days. And if it's not like business where they could just go somewhere else. If this one is slow with service, they can go somewhere else. But they'll get voted out of office and they won't have a job. But there will still be a motor vehicles division or the Army or whatever. So we're kind of locked into the government services that we have, but we can make them better. Anyway, let's get back to the community. This is where I was going there. That just ate up my other few minutes that I usually use. We need background music for this advert. Don't challenge me. You are talking to someone who does a lot of podcasts and has that information available to them. This is the community at community@servicenow.com. Little bit of a cobwebs in the throat this morning. Script question choices. I'm not even going to look at the new questions. Let's see what's been happening recently in the community. We have script question choices. I'm going to put, let's see. I need to make a script that when the user chooses 3 options, leaves the attachment mandatory, and if he chooses other options, does not have to be mandatory. Algum could help me. I'm not sure what Algum is, but we'll see what we can do. Write it on, change client script to fix it. There is a link to the client scripts from SK185 225. Sounds like one of my two-factor codes. 185 225. Also attachment scripts. Yes, that's going to basically be it. There's another reply in here somewhere. The script I've already created is an attachment. I just need to make it mandatory in 3 options. If you've got London, I'm going to put this in. If you've got London or are trying... Actually, you know what? I haven't found a way to script this yet. But we do have attachment fields now in London. if you haven't noticed this, but I haven't found a way to write a script to say, is this mandatory, or excuse me, is this populated? You could make it mandatory, but I haven't found a way to make it conditionally mandatory through a client script or UI policy yet. That's a yet. I need to follow up with our dev team to find out what that's all about. If I go to my CLS application, here are items. I think I have, one of these two tables has an attachment field on it. Let's find out. No, there we go. There's an image field. Come on, scroll down a little further. Thank you. Image, owners, table, condition. This is a Scratchpad application. So if I go to configure form design, I'm going to put it just across from the image field. I'm going to make an attachment. And under field types, you can put a file attachment. There's image. These are all wide. Let's do this. Let's drag that up there. And put the file attachment more or less across from it underneath subcategory. Here, just to balance things out, we'll do that. This table really has no purpose other than to show you things. New file attachment's a terrible name, but you get the idea. We'll delete that field in just a second. I did not mean to save that quickly. Reload the form, and up near the top I should have a new file attachment. Click add, and I can choose a file just like an image field, but now I'm able to do more than images. Of course, most of what's on here is an image. There's a little doc, attach the doc, and I get that. Now if I wanted to make that mandatory, I can of course right click on the field label, configure dictionary, and I will have a mandatory field in there. Come on, annotations. Now you know I turned off the annotations the other day, or found them off when I was trying to display an annotation. And it has the star on there, so if I delete this and try to save, it's going to stop me and say, wait, this is not filled in. It should be red. I don't know why it doesn't show up red. But if I reload that form, it will show up red. And then reattach that doc. So it's going to behave. Oh, this is interesting. If it's mandatory, it needs to save the record before it goes to that next screen. That's kind of ugly. Huh. So let's do this. What categories do I have in here? Colors, food, hardware, software. Let's undo the mandatory on this. I'm just playing around right now. I want to see what I can find. Let's, not form designer. Let's go to configure dictionary. A mandatory file attachment field doesn't let you attach files. A bit of a problem there. Yeah. So let's update that so it's not mandatory. I'm going to try something simple. Let's do a client script, or a UI policy. So I'm going to do this through Studio so that I can have one window that shows. I thought I reorganized those. I'm going to do that right now. Pardon me while I take a time out. I like Studio at the top. It's my most favorite. So let's do that. Now back to Studio. In my CLS application, I have my item field and my item table. I want to create a UI policy. Forms and UI. Oh, no, not forms and UI. Client development, UI policy. Brain's a little off today. And I want to put that on my CLS item table. And make file attachment mandatory if category equals hardware. Nice description there. Let's put a condition in to trigger. Wait for it to finish loading. I take a refreshing sip of chamomile tea and say when category is hardware. Did I say hardware? Hardware. Do that, and let's get the UI policy actions in there. UI policy action is going to be, can we do this? Make new file attachment. One advantage of having a horrible file name, a horrible field label and name is it stands out. Mandatory, true. Does this work as advertised? Because last time I checked it didn't, but we're now on patch, no, this is still at patch 0. My other instance is at patch 3. Reload the form. Excuse me. reload the form, and category hardware. See, it doesn't do that. There's something different about the way that these fields go. That's what I need to check into, is how can we make this conditional? Because if we force it to be mandatory, it doesn't quite work. Okay. Yes, London has this feature of a file attachment field. If we could do that, then you could simply say choice field, you know, what I was after. So this kind of thing you wouldn't have to do via script. If London, FYI, London, I'm going to make it a little bigger, has a file attachment field, but I haven't found a way to make a UI policy recognize UI policy set it mandatory or not based on another field. This would be very easy if it worked. I'm trying it on London patch 0. I'll try to get to a test on London patch 3 and Madrid later today. It's going to be a busy day. It's going to be a busy day. All right, reply made. Flip the coin. Let's see what else we have. Quick refreshing here. That was more of an FYI. While I search the voice support under tasks, I'm seeing the other team, WebFilter, Wintel Support tasks as below. Thank you. Is that a problem? Statement? I'm not sure what this is. Could you please help me out on the below issue? While I search with voice support under tasks, I am seeing the other team as below. Please find the attachment for your understanding. When you use the search in the header, the default setting is to greater than or equal to search rather than contain search. You will notice the filter says assignment group name is greater than. Oh, okay. So yeah. So what's happening is they're going to this list. I'm sure you've all seen this before. If you go to a list of, say, incidents, and I'm going to go down to, how about incident open? Open incidents. I don't have a whole lot of them. And I look for the assignment group and say hardware. If you just type in hardware here, it's going to say assignment group name starts with hardware. Oh, that's different. Did they say? Oh, that's a different one. Let's see. I want to see this picture. And I don't think we have the inline pictures yet. Open this. We don't have it. It's still got to download the pictures. So they're doing assignment and it says greater than or equal to. Yeah, so they're looking for V and it's getting VW because it says greater than or equal to voice support. I know that's a little hard to read, especially if you're on a mobile device, but that's what it's coming up with. So the explanation is, you notice the filter says name greater than or equal to voice support. That means it will also return everything with the value larger than voice support. Now it is going on display value, not sysID, of course. You'll all recognize that assignment group is a reference field. The reference field has a sysID that tells what to reference from the other record, and what gets displayed is the field name that is designated as the display value. If you change the filter to equals voice support, it will show you what you want. You could also do contain search by adding the asterisk to the card. Yeah, for your information, I'm going to do this real quick. What did they type in there anyway? Is the image still up? The image is not still up. Let me go to my downloads folder and see that. They didn't type it there. They typed it up here, which gives a different result. So what they did is up here, let's get rid of this. I'm just going to get rid of everything. They did assignment group. I'm going to say hardware. And this one does greater than or equal to. If you open this up, it will do a contains. So if you open the magnifying glass, Notice that you get a different thing from the go-to filter than you do from the list header filter. Okay, I'm going to put in another option just because it's nice to have other options. Another option to what Tony, it was Tony, right? Tony said. What Tony said is to use the list header filter instead of the go-to filter. Image below. My nose is itchy today. Hey, it didn't come up with the warning that said file type not supported. Okay. So what we get out of this is, from there, you can simply type voice. Was it voice or voice support? What did they have? Voice support. Support, and it will use a contains filter instead of greater than or equals. I have no idea why these two filters are different. You can access this by clicking the magnifying glass to expand the filters. All right. As noted, the same shortcuts work. Shortcuts work to do filtering and wildcards. Example, star hardware equals contains hardware, not star hardware equals does not contain hardware. Percent hardware equals ends with hardware. Hardware percent equals, you got it, starts with hardware. And what am I missing? Equals hardware, oops. Equals hardware. Hardware, I just suddenly forgot how to spell hardware. Equals is hardware. And I thought there was an is not. Let me see. I go over here to assignment group and say not equals hardware. Yeah, not equals hardware. Okay. Got to get that in. And not equals hardware. Hardware equals, you got it, is not hardware. Wow. I've typed that word for decades and suddenly it escapes me today. So there are a lot of different shortcuts you can do on that list format. That goes for the top as well. So you can put assignment group, let's take this out and go back to the whole filter. Using this go-to filter, it's called, up here on the top, you can do the same kinds of things. You can say equals hardware, which I often do, and sometimes people go, wow, how'd you do that? There's just a few shortcuts that you want to become familiar with, and it will put in the breadcrumbs, assignment group, name equals hardware. And of course, I get all of the hardwares in there. So rather than just typing this in, because it will default to the greater than or equals up here, there is a property you can use for contains, but I don't recommend you set that so that the list filter defaults to contains. Contains is a much more expensive query, so avoid doing that. I'm going to show that to you just for the sake of completeness. Never mind. And if I remember right, I can look up just contains. Oh, it's not in here anymore. Fancy that. Interesting, interesting. Filter. Only 15 things. Glide inbound, glide list filter. Max length. No, I'm not seeing it. Home filter. Related list. Search filters, true, false. Not seeing it. I know it's in there somewhere. It's not, maybe not even created by default. Maybe we don't want people using it anymore. So it's been taken out. So I usually start running filters from the list filter, the top up here, because as you can see, I did it by default there. I don't know when the last time I've used the go-to filter is, because I can now start stacking these up and say, this is equals choice list. And I can put that in and get just the filter. I could make a compound query this way. Very common for many applications that have lists to have this feature available to them. I remember this from about 20 years ago on a particular ERP system that I'm thinking of. So remember, if you find something helpful or useful, you've learned something in this video, click the like button so that others know that it's there. And if you're watching on the community, click the helpful button so that you can show other people there's something helpful in this video. So there's my little tip. That's what you don't get in all of the answers, although I put it in this answer. Try to make this video valuable. I'm going to switch to, let's do a quick refresh on the screen. And go to unreplied. How does the attestation, record watcher on event log, 6 failed login attempts in 1 second. Wow, that sounds pretty horrific. Sounds like you got a bot that's trying to break in. Hello, community. We have a user that was locked out of her account permanently after 2 failed logins attempt. We had unlocked her manually. Upon investigation, we see 2 failed attempts at 9:04:34, the same second, followed by 4 more attempts about 30 seconds later, 40 seconds later. Here is the timeline of the history. And here are the events for the same user. So here are the 2 questions. Have you seen other instances of multiple failed attempts happening in a super short time frame, and what could be the cause? Why was she locked out permanently and not for the usual 15 minutes? Does she have a password that needs resetting on mobile? Is she using a mobile device that is trying to log in with old credentials? Was there anything in that log message? Pictures are awesome, by the way. Nothing in the log message says where it's coming from. Okay. Any chance you can track down? I should be looking for that. There should be a... Event log doesn't tell you. System logs may. System logs... Not the transaction logs. What am I looking for? I'm looking for the node log. Check the node log file browser. You can check the node logs to see where those failed attempts are coming from. There's my entry for that. What else? I have something that popped up this morning that I want to take a look at. Real simple question, and it's gotten a number of responses. It's a few hours before I signed on. What happens if I use the same column name, not the column label, but the same column name, like U underscore user, okay, in 2 tables? Will it cause any issue? If yes, what type of issue will be caused? And the answers have been resoundingly no problem creating a user field in multiple tables. They are separate entities. They're not part of that. However, if you have I want to point this out, if you have a table that extends another table and it already has a user table, and you don't need to create a new field called user because you already have one inherited. And I will give a demonstration of that. And B, you can't do it because it'll say it already exists because it inherited it. So 37 minutes ago, you can have the same column name with 2 different tables and a child table to allow this, but you can't do this in a hierarchy. So let's take my CLS application. I'm going to go back to Studio, and I don't think I can do this here. Oh, it is extensible. So let's take my item table, which has a bunch of kooky columns on it, one of which is called category. Okay, I'm going to update that so I can now extend my table item. Write operation scope, Rhino Global has been refused, so did it work? It's extensible. Sure, let's go with that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. And now my item table is extensible. So when I go to create a new table, I will call this item task, and that will extend my, it's not going to do it. Oh, bummer. Let's go get the item table. Of course, it's going to show me a few things. I can get my CLS item table to extend from there. That is now extensible, and if I simply do that, I will now have in my CLS application, let's reload this so it's got the new module on the side. I should have my, wait for it, item tasks. And item tasks will look very, very much, it inherits the list layout, it inherits the form layout, it inherits a lot of the other things from the parent table, including, of course, the fields and the categories. But I can override these because it's a different table. It's just like task is to incident, or task is to SC task, or CMDB server, or CMDB computer is to CMDB, you get the idea. Any table that inherits from the parent, you get a lot of stuff with it, including all these annotations. Now I can go change the form layout specific to this one. They are asking specifically what happens if I try to create a category field on this table. Actually, they didn't ask that. They said, can I have it on two different tables? If I were to simply create another table that is not extended, let's go create that real quick. Okay, we'll call this one repair. Just because I can't think of anything else. I create the table, and I can create the same fields on there all day if I want. Good to go down here. There are no fields except of the 6 that I get. 6, 7? What is it? I lost count. Is it 6 or 7? It is 6. The 6 standard fields from the global table. And I can call one category. It doesn't even have to be the same type, but just to show that it is. Ooh, dangerous waters here. Not really. I can create a category field on a table that is not related to that other one in any way, shape, or form. That's fine. But when I try to do that on my item task table, note that I already have a category field. That's interesting. I shouldn't be able to X that out, because if I look at the table that belongs to, I hate it when that happens. Okay, click that, get that in there. If I look at the table it belongs to, leave that. Item task actually belongs to the item table. How am I able to delete that? Interesting. None of these should be deletable if you're inherited from the parent task. But if I try to create another field here called category, it is of course going to say, we'll default that to string. It's going to say, sorry, you can't, there's already a category field there. You inherited it. Why do you want to create another category field? That's just silliness. So a little bit about inheriting fields and creating new ones. No problem if it's not associated. How do you know if it's associated? You do it the same way I did. You go into the table, you look under the controls, or excuse me, was it under controls? Oh, it's right there, extends table. Okay, if it extends that table, then you can go to the columns, do what I did, add, personalize the list layout, and say, what table did this come from? Because sometimes in the CMDB, you may be 3 layers or 4 layers down, and the field it inherited is from 1, 2, or 3 layers above you. It's handy to know where these fields come from and which other tables have access to or visibility to those as well. So a little bit about tables. Very important to understand what the table structure is. They're very simple to create. Let's move on. User company is changing automatically after some days. Oh, I gave an answer, but I didn't actually give any comment on that because everybody else seems to have answered that already correctly. I just wanted to give an explanation behind it. One user facing the issue that the user account is creating created under one company. After some days, the user company changes and it went under another company. When I see the show XML on the account, it says it was updated by guest. So we have 2 replies on this. Let me do a refresh, see if there are any additional replies recently. Still 2 replies. SK185225, some job is running against the guest account. It is good for you to create an incident for ServiceNow support team. So they're saying have ServiceNow look into it. Maybe, not necessarily. Michael Fry, very very involved person with the community, couldn't remember the word there. He's been around for a while, answered a lot of great questions. Asked, are you syncing with LDAP or one of the accounts created manually? How are the accounts created and how are they maintained? What is going on? Is the time to elaborate on Michael's response? How are the accounts being maintained? Is it a regular import? Does the time of the record change, record change, correspond to any known scheduled jobs/imports? Okay, normally those would be running as system, however. Guest feels more like an email action or something. Not too many things run as guest as far as I know. The other thing you could do, I don't know if this is on by default. They didn't say what table it's on. I'm going to guess this user. So they were going up to show XML. This is a feature I don't use enough. I see many of my colleagues use this a lot. They go to show XML and it really gives you the details of that record. If you haven't used that before, you can use that on the record. It's got all of the fields that are in there, whether they're on the form or not. And you can see, especially for reference fields like location, it gives you the display value, but it also gives you the sysid that's behind that. What is the record on that table? It doesn't tell you what table it's pointing to. You can get that another way. But it also shows you that these sys fields, like sys created by, are not actually user IDs. Somebody asked me this morning a question about this and said, could I look at who was created by or updated by? I said, that doesn't really tell you who so much. It's just a string that is interesting. So they're saying that it was updated by guest. I want to know when it was updated and does that correspond to anything that you've got. So that's handy. Is there anything down in the related list that might be of use? Let's configure related list and see. There shouldn't be any versions because it's not a version record. I don't think we could put an activity history on this thing. So I know it's read-only, but look at all the stuff that references user. Wow. Wow. Yeah, probably not. That's not going to get me any good information. What about, what was I just thinking of? Not a reference field. Oh, I'm going to look in form layout real quick, see if there's anything that might give us some sort of audit history. I don't know if I'd do this. So underneath annotation activities, you could try. Let's go to this in the global application, edit this section in global. You could try turning on the activities. I thought this only worked on task, and I don't know that I would do this as a general practice. I might make a special view for this, because once you do that, it's going to turn on auditing. Auditing on the table means that everything that changes on that table will now be audited. And you will get it just like in a task. You have to say, what do you want to see? And if I wanted to see the company change, I could do this. So add that to the fields not allowing insert a property, glide IUI. Let me go to global. See if that's the issue. Can I not do that? That looked like a scoping issue. Add company to the list of things. Well, let me save. Yes, okay. So it was just that I was in the wrong scope. Normally that would have worked. And I can see the company has changed. This is when it was created on February 17th, 2012. I wouldn't leave this on, especially if you have users that change a lot, or if you're tracking. You don't necessarily need to. You could. I don't know that it makes sense to have it on, but it might make for a nice debugging tool. See where I'm going with that? Is just like you could track the activities on a task. To say it was assigned to this person on this date, it was changed priority on that date. That's kind of what's going to happen. Guest users can be normal users with a broken session. ServiceNow displays it as user guest. Huh. Okay, thanks, Alex. I hadn't realized that. Yeah, the activity log, possibly. A reason I don't necessarily recommend that. I mean, it depends. There may be other reasons you want to do that. You could, and I use this cautiously, because once it's on and records everything for the rest of your life. You could add the activity history to the user table to start viewing what was changed and when. You don't necessarily. Yeah, this will only work going forward. Okay. Well, will it? It should. Yeah. Only work for changes going forward, but could give you some easy insights to what you are looking for. If you don't want this available to everyone, make yourself a new view of that form and place the activity history there. All right. I'm going to have to wrap this up a little bit early. I've got a couple of appointments that start earlier than usual. I apologize. I wanted to give you the full hour, but that is going to do it for today. Don't forget, if you find something useful, helpful, mildly entertaining, to click that like button or click the helpful link if it's in the community. I appreciate it very much. It lets other people know that there's something useful. There's something that's good about this video. And I, with any luck, will see you again on Monday. So take care, have a wonderful weekend, and be sure to learn, share, and help. Take care. Bye.